I hereby invite the Sri Lankan Cuban Ambassador, Her Excellency Indira Lopez, to honor us with her speech on Cuban women before and after the Socialist Revolution.
Dear comrades and friends, first of all, I wanted to transmit my congratulations to all of the women present here. Today I have been invited to talk about the Cuban women, and I would like to dedicate my very first words to our comrade and women's friends, the beloved Commander President Hugo Chavez. Under his leadership, the Venezuelan women start living a new chapter under their revolution. Allow me to express our heartiest feelings with the words of our national hero, José Martí, who said, "Death is not true when the labor's life has been fulfilled very well. Prison breaks and starts at the end while dying the life, the true life. Our comrade Hugo Chavez is more alive than ever. Victory forever, we will win." Maybe some of you are much aware of the top presence of the Cuban women in politics. 7 of our 15 new elected provincial assemblies are going to be headed by us without a political quota system, just by merit and achievements. More than 76% of all the Cuban working labor forces are women, and the 49% of the most prepared and graduated professional labor are women. But not always this has been our reality. When and how our women fight started. Cuba, as many third world countries, had a colonial past. Our very indigenous people were exterminated, totally exterminated by the Spanish colonialism. But the very first resistance fights came from our women. The partner of our indigenous leader, Anacaona, died together with him, voted by the savage Spanish colonization. They introduced in our land the morality and also the patriarchal system, same as that one that was explained by the Marxist teacher Friedrich Engels. Same system compelled the women to buy, using dowry, their rights to guarantee a father and the means of sustain of their families, and impose men over women. In Cuba, during the slavehood and the fighting against it, women were present and active. One of them, Carlota, an slave, was the head of one nucleus of black rebels against Spain. In her honor, the Cuban Internationalist Mission in Angola, Namibia, and South Africa, who helped our sisters and brothers to be free of the apartheid and the colonialism, were named Carlota, as a symbol of our reconnection of the African roots, but also the actual women's determination to fight and win. Later, the women's presence was notorious during the Independence War. Many of the women's peasants worked and also grew their children between the Cuban troops. The most remarkable example of the women's determination to liberate the Cuban soil of the Spanish oppression was Mariana Grajales. She was the mother of 5 of the most brave generals and high-ranking black officials of the independence fighters, the Maceos. Also, at that time, between the rich but patriot circles of the women at the Republic of Arms, one Cuban lady were scandalous in between those patriots, as we call them mambises. The poet and rich but very Cuban patriot, Gertrudis Gomez de Avellaneda, she was one of the first to push for the free education system and the right of the women to be educated. Second, she created the first battalions of women fighters. She talked about the equality between women and men and demanded the equal right to vote and to be elected. The split that she caused between the freedom fighters' legislative body was so immense that we had learned one peculiar and very own style of our fight for freedom. Cuban women's groups were, in few times, but in very few times, directly shocking in our fight. We learned to find the way and means to push all the interests together, and we tactically placed our rights among the collective pushing's demand. This was a tremendous difference between our women's groups and those from the United States or Europe. We had to remind that when the war finished, many of our widows were without lands, and their children who grew between the rebel troops were considered second-class citizens. So, although Cuba was able to be a new republic, women's rights still needed for a second period of fight. Those years of the new republic, it means at the beginning of the 20th century, many women were forced to convert to tobacco rollers, but also many were employed as domestic helpers and others as sexual workers for the American Navy Army. Others to cook the sugar cane. One of the most difficult periods of our fight was that one, because the new republic obtained only in papers their independence, and for example, when the American companies came to buy the lands, all the women who were not able to prove their property were expelled from their farms. Also, sons were forcibly induced to serve in the big system of vicious and drug that the American mafia implanted all over the Cuban hotels and casinos. Then, those women's groups that were not able to place their rights during the constitution of the new republic learned the experience that is a need to link our fight in a wider and huge trend. The emancipation for all the society requires the women emancipation also, the women empowerment. Women joined the Cuban Communist Party and socialist groups and were one of the very first to be incorporated into the trade union central workers, and since the very beginning fight for equal job, equal salary. Second, it was the fight for the unity between all the trade unions groups. It doesn't matter to which party people were affiliated. This unity allowed the Cuban workers to introduce the limited journal, the social pensions, and created the basis for the right of women to vote and be elected, as we were part of the main trade unions associations. Third, those led forces with the women in front pushed for the introduction of the civil code, the equal right to the land, the civil marriage, the right of divorce, and the right to inherit the land and commodities. Also, to have a bank account, drive, and join to universities were conquered during the 30s and the 40s of the 20th century by the push and pressure of women since the left and trade unions organization, but never against the comrades. We had one thing very clear. This is not a problem of the women against men. This is a problem of poor and less favored people against rich and imperialist people. But all these measures that were placed in one of the most liberal and progressive constitutions in the history of Latin America were not able to implement without the regulations and norms which had to come from the government and never did, because at that moment the imperialism gave one of the most cynical cup to the revolutionary people in Cuba, the instauration of the dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. Once again, our brave and determined women struggle for their rights since the very beginning of the 26th July movement, headed by Fidel Castro. Women as Celia Sánchez Manduley, Vilma Espín, and Acela de los Santos fought together with men in Sierra Maestra mountains and organized the struggles in cities and for all Cuban territories. The resistance and cooperation with the new rebel army was supported with the women participation. Even in the Sierra Maestra battlefront, there were a battalion named the Marianas, and in front of the intolerance of the rebels to fight with them, our commander-in-chief and historical leader of our revolution, Comrade Fidel Castro, said, "If you don't fight with them, okay, they will be my bodyguards, and I will fight only among them." Since there, our women president organization were, until her latest moment of her life, together as Fidel's side, Vilma Espín. She used to say, "I fought in Sierra Maestra near to him, and I am still fighting near to him for the real women independence. If I convince Fidel, we convince all Cuban men," and that was true. History proved that this strategy has been, until today, the most asserted way, because during the very initial moments of the revolution, Fidel gave to Celia and Vilma the enough resources to incorporate thousands of prostitutes to their other jobs by teaching first how to read and then how to work in different occupations. Second, the women's organization means Cuban Federation Women's introduced schools of agricultural work for the peasants in order to support the new economical projects that the revolution required. And it was at that moment that all the rights were not only placed in the Constitution, but in the real life. There, the women's organization were able to participate among those who teach and show how to read more than 1 million people in Cuba, and also new ways to work and to be incorporated to the economical new times, the revolutionary changes. But between the most complicated problems was, since the Spaniard time, the rich and white owners used to have many women, but in extramarital status. Those children born as second citizen categories. So, when the slavehood finished, the double standard of that morality do not condemn the men who have many children. It doesn't matter in or out the marriage, but condemn the women to have their children alone. Many of them were victims of the abuse of the rich owner or the American army soldier. So, the revolution declares, first of all, that justice is for all. Our Cuban revolution was against all the chains. So, men are equal in front of the law, whatever it is his profession, origin, race, religious, and belief. Since 1974, with the approval of the new civil code, in Cuba, a civil marriage is compulsory, but also a community of good inside the marriage. It means everything that one acquires once married belongs to both, and if the marriage is going to disappear, goods have to be divided into 2 equal parts. It was also approved at that time the right of abortion and depenalized the prostitution, but increased the penalties for those who exploited the women's sexual service. It means the owners of brothers and the pit pot men. The civil code placed facility for pregnant women workers, like preschools, gardens, under very low fee, which allows the working women to continue their job but also raise their children. The code for the infant and adolescent were introduced for first time in the history. So this gave rights and protections for the future generation of our homeland. The wise of the women's organization has been to be close to the government in order to be present at any time, in any situation, and changes for the revolution, but also to be distant enough to have their own identity as an own NGO, as a mass organization, widely presently in any community, with trainings, courses, camp trainings, houses against violence, and for support the families and the values of the families in life. This has allowed that women could be empowered in all the spheres of life, and also to reach the political level participations that we already have. Always there have been many things to do, like the prevention of AIDS, the prevention of early pregnancies, the preservation of the marriage values, and the right for the entire segment in the society. It means the right for youth, women, black, religious, but also homosexual and transgender people. Finally, we have to say that the women's organization has been a soldier of all the revolution battles against crimes, drugs, but also for the vaccination of children, incorporation to the school, to increase the instruction of level of the population, to preserve the health against dengue, but also in support the political change in the new society, in the construction of the socialist society, with the humble and for the humble of the earth. Thank you very much.